Hi, everybody. So you know what's wrong with our politics today, and it's that the corporations have a stranglehold on our politicians, and they don't represent us. So that's why we still have we're the richest country in the world without universal health care, Medicare for all. We're the only right. We don't have free college. We're again bankrupting ourselves on imperialistic wars overseas. We have no enemies who can threaten us, yet here we are spending trillions of dollars on defense. It's not defense, it's offense. It should be called the Department of Offense. Why do I bring all this up? What's wrong with the Democratic Party? They have no message, they have no core, they have no center, because they're beholding, when they got in bed with Wall Street, there's no point for the Democrats to exist. Because it's supposed to be there was a party of business and a party of workers, the party of the white collar, the party of the blue collar and the poor. So the party of the blue collar and the poor and the workers decided to get in bed with Wall Street and become the party of the white collar suburbanites. So now nobody represents workers anymore. Hence, you get Donald Trump attracting more small donor donations than the Democrats. Does that make sense to you? Okay, so if you ask Bernie Sanders, well, here's Nancy Pelosi. She's a leader. She's the leader of the Democrats in the House. She's the leader. Now, as you know, Nancy Pelosi, extremely unpopular in the country. And every time she goes on TV, she turns off about 85 to 90% of the country. And she's super unpopular, yet she won't step down from her leadership position, and she won't stop going on TV, just even though she knows it hurts her party and it hurts her cause. That's how much of a narcissist she is.
That and those sunglasses ain't cheap. She's got stuff to buy.
And she's worth over $100 million. She got rich while she was in power, which is a horrible thing. It's just, anyway. And so now the Democrats have revealed that they don't have a message. They don't have a plan. In fact, they're just corporatists. There's no point to that party. So they came out with this thing called the Better Deal. It's not the New Deal. Remember, FDR had a New Deal. We knew concrete. He'd start Social Security, give people jobs. Very clear what he was going to do. So here's Nancy Pelosi. And by the way, if you woke Bernie Sanders up out of a sound sleep and you asked him, hey, what are your core principles? What are you fighting for? He could tell you. Single payer health care, free college, living wage. He could tell you. Those three things would change this country. And he would break up the banks. That's another thing. He could tell you off the top of his head, would say, bring up the bank, put a transactional tax on Wall Street. 5 things, boom. You can wake him up out of a sound sleep. Bernie Sanders could give you those things. You wake me up out of a sound sleep, I can give it to you. Here's the leader of the Democrats in the House. She's been the leader for a long time. She's watched the Democrats completely get wiped out under her leadership, and she doesn't care. They have no plans to win workers back except pablum. They have empty platitudes. And by the way, they can't even remember what they are. Here's Nancy Pelosi. She's going to try and talk about the better deal, and she can't even remember what it is because it's nothing, and it comes from nowhere. And here she is. She has to literally read it off a brochure. Her core message, she has to read it off a brochure like it's the first time she ever saw it. Here we go.
Families economically. So that takes us to the better deal.
Takes us to the better deal. Hey, Nancy, what is the better deal? Can you tell me off the top of your head? Can you speak from your heart? Can you ever speak extemporaneously from your heart? Let's see.
Better deal. I just want to say this to you because you'll be hearing more about it. It's about better jobs. The better deal is about...
She literally is holding the pamphlet in her hand, and she literally had to take her sunglasses off so she could read what it is. What's the better deal about? Well, I really want you to tell you because you're going to be hearing a lot more, but she's looking for the pamphlet as she's saying that. She's filling time. And then she gets it and she holds it up. She has to take off her sunglasses so she can read it so she can find out what her party's core message is. The leader. Here we go. Well, let's watch.
Better jobs, better wages, better future, higher.
Oh my God. Hey, what are some of the things that regular people are concerned about? If somebody gives me a pamphlet, I'll figure it out. She's reading this as if let's just let her read it a little bit more. But she's reading this as if she's talking to a bunch of kindergartners and telling them what's in their gift bag, and she doesn't know what half the candy bars are. That's how she's reading this. Ready? Here we go.
Families economically. So that takes us to the better deal. And the better deal, I just want to say this to you because you'll be hearing more about it. It's about better jobs. The better deal is about better jobs, better wages, better future, higher pay. That means, as Barbara Lee said, equal pay for equal work, at the very least, as Jackie indicated with Rosie the River. Higher pay, equal pay, lower cost. Lower cost.
What does lower cost mean, Nancy? Lower cost. Lower cost? She read it off the pamphlet. Doesn't mean anything. Now she's going to try to pretend what that means.
Lower cost. Lower cost to people. Well, let's see. One thing we could lower cost is prescription drugs. Lowering the cost of prescription drugs and ending drug price.
She can't even speak.
Yeah.
I'm not trying. Again, I'm not trying to be overly critical of her, but I've said this for a long, long time about Nancy Pelosi, and I don't know if she has a physical condition or whatever. If she does, I feel sorry for her, and I'm not trying to make fun of her for it, but she's not a good speaker, and it's ironic because her whole thing is about speaking. She's a bad speaker. I don't know if something's happened later in her life where she's having a problem talking, but she's often slurring her words, often, just like right now.
If somebody woke me up from a dead sleep and showed me this video and I was just coming to, I'd be like, I don't know who that person is, but they have a job at SNL for life. That is a spot-on Nancy Pelosi impression. Holy shit, looks just like her.
And again, that she has a way of talking where she doesn't make a point. Everything she says is diluted, convoluted, gets she says things, she mumbles the whole time under her breath. She's one of the worst communicators I've seen in politics.
Well, Jimmy, actually, I think she, I'm sorry, I think she needs a better brochure.
Here we go.
Prescription drugs. Lowering the cost of prescription drugs and ending drug price gouging is a way to lower costs for families. Monopolies.
And how are you going to do that? You're going to have Cory Booker screw you over again when Bernie Sanders introduces that legislation to re-import drugs from Canada? What is your plan to do that, to fight against Big Pharma? What is your plan to do that? Nothing. There's no plan.
I got to be honest. Upon looking at this further, I don't even think that's like a document prepared for her. I think those are notes she wrote on the back of a takeout menu.
That's what it looks like.
Hold on, let me look. Hold on. All right.
Okay.
Something better. You want something
better.
There's good stuff here. It's good.
We can lower the cost of prescription drugs. Like she had no idea what it was. We can lower the cost of one thing. Oh, prescription drugs. I mean, come on, Nancy Pelosi. Could she look more disconnected? She's so disconnected from contemporary in America. Her nickname is VCR. Here we go. There's more.
Down on big corporate mergers that hurt consumers, workers, and competition. That helps to lower costs when we stop that. And again...
Oh, no!
So their big thing is they're going to try to stop corporate mergers. Because most people, when they wake up, hey, what would you like the government to do? The mergers. Could someone do something about the mergers? Hey, that's something that should be done. There's no doubt about it. But to pretend like that should be the third thing on your frickin' plan to retake America. And by the way, she doesn't even know what it is.
She wasn't sure. She's like, yeah, that when we stop.
When we stop doing that.
Do we help it? No, we stop.
And just watch how much she reads this too. So I'm going to play this part again. Watch how much she reads it.
Lower costs for families. Monopolies crack down on big corporate mergers that hurt consumers, workers, and competition.
Like you have to read that off a brochure.
I have this great line about how we need to stop monopolies. It's right underneath the shrimp chow mein that I'm going to order later. It's right there.
Could you imagine seeing Ted Cruz have to bring up a brochure? We want to cut taxes and protect the unborn. I got to read it.
She also went like this, right? Competition.
Because that's the buzzword that's going to make sure she's not too tough on those corporations.
This is an F- performance. This is going to get voters out, the half the country that doesn't vote. This is going to get those people out to vote for you. If the Democrats, and by the way, why is Nancy Pelosi the leader? She's the leader because she gets the most money from corporations and Wall Street. And then she gives it to her friends in Congress, and then they vote for her to be the leader. It's not because she's an actual leader. Same thing with Chuck Schumer. Does that look like a leader to you? That looks like someone who just got lost in a house of mirrors and needs help getting out. Does that look like a leader to you? That looks like somebody you'd have to take to the bath. Are you okay? You going to need some help in the bathroom? Is everything okay? Make sure. I mean, she looks like she's lost.
No, I mean, I was just thinking about that. Like, if somebody, like, from a different country or something that knew nothing about American politics, like, ran into her on the street, they wouldn't believe her if she said, like, I have to, like, she'd show up her takeout menu. I'm going to make this speech about economics, and I'm going to help everybody, and I have good things on here. They'd be like, okay, I think you need some help, lady. And, like, they take her to, like, an authority. They're like, she thinks she's the leader of something. I don't know. like that's what would happen.
She's the leader. Just keep reminding yourself that. She is the leader. She's the leader. You know, tabla rusa.
Well, she also said, she mentioned Rosie the Riveter, and we're all standing here remembering that Rosie the Riveter is from the 40s, for goodness sakes.
Right.
You know, so is she really trying to connect those World War II women to get on board with this deal?
So there's more to this clip. Let's play it.
That helps to lower costs when we stop that. And
I'm not kidding. She sounds like she just did get woken up out of a sound sleep.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
She actually sounds like that.
again, tools for the 21st century, to have the apprenticeships, to have the investments in education.
Now, who wants egg rolls? Who wants the crab ragoon?
Families' economic.
She literally, I've seen more enthusiasm from people describing the Price is Right prizes.
Totally. There's a lot of enthusiasm.
She literally had to read her core beliefs off of a frickin' piece of paper that she had to hold up and read. If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about the Democratic Party and how empty they are, and if you have the balls to wag your finger at someone who won't vote for that shit, you have the balls. Oh, you gotta think about it. It's a binary system, and this is the binary system you're supporting. Well, I ain't fucking supporting that. You're gonna support this binary system? Why would you support this? And for what? You're gonna have to fight against them if they get in power. Just like Shama Suwan said, you had to fight against the Democrats to get the $15 minimum wage passed in Seattle. You're going to have to fight them to end the wars. You're going to have to fight them to regulate Wall Street. You're going to have to fight them to get free college or single payer or a living wage. You're going to have to fight them. That's who you're going to have to fight. What is the point? And they're harder to fight because they're so insidious, right? They'll come at you with all the people they'll come at you with a woman. They'll come at you with all the identity politics minorities, right? And say, "Oh, how could you be against? I'm against their policies. I'm not against their identity." Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yes, completely.
So that's why it's harder to fight against the Democrats, because the Democrats will corner you and say, "Oh, what are you? Oh, you're anti-immigrant, or you're anti-women, or you're anti-minority. Why aren't you for these people?" Because I'm not for their policies. Because they're bought by corporations. Because they're empty. Because they have no ideas. Because they're the problem. That's why this is why we have Trump and they're still this bad. Can you fucking believe, isn't that mind-blowing?
Or they'll pretend like it's a structural error on your part and that they're actually on your side. See single payer in California,
right,
for an example on how that goes down.
Right. Oh, so then it's it's some structural problem. We couldn't possibly get single payer in California. There's all these structural hurdles we could never get over, even though we completely control the country. I mean, the state. We completely control it. Super majority. Do whatever you want. Can't do it. So we're still going to have to fight these people. This makes me think of that Dylan Ratigan quote.
The Democrats want you to believe that their party is, of course, wonderful and fabulous and wants to help to save the world and all the rest of this. And they want you to believe that the only problem with the American political system is the Republicans and, more importantly, the corruption of the American political system and the Republicans by the Russians. This, of course, would be the most horrible thing that could come from the current political situation. Because if we allow the Democratic Party to convince anybody, ridiculous they've even convinced themselves, that the primary issue with the American political process is Donald Trump and the Republicans, that validates their capacity to sustain themselves in a disgusting and corrupt fashion. The reality is, the only reason we have Donald Trump as our president and these horrendous Republicans is because of the unadulterated failure and corruption in the Democratic Party. Think about how bad, how unappealing, how offensive Barack Obama and ultimately Hillary Clinton had to be to the American population in order for them to even remotely begin to choose someone like Donald Trump as a better alternative. Think about it, how bad people have to view the level of corruption in the Democratic Party to think of Donald Trump as a remotely preferable alternative. Donald Trump is terrible. The Republicans are offensive beyond comprehension. But the solution is not the Democrats. The solution is a final terminal bypass of these two utterly corrupt political parties. And the Democrats are desperately fighting to try to convince you and everybody else that the only problem is the Republicans and Trump, and that they are quite actually perfect in their own way, when they are the ones who are the biggest contributors to the Trump campaign and the Trump problem.
Who's the biggest contributor to the Trump campaign and the Trump problem? There you go. Who's the biggest contributor? There you go. Nancy Pelosi. You know, next time I say just have Nancy Pelosi instead of reading the Better Deal. I say just give her off a brochure. I say just give her an Applebee's menu and have her read that. Believe me, she won't know the difference. She won't know the difference. I mean, as far as being an inspiring leader, Nancy Pelosi ranks somewhere between the ghost of Mr. Chicken and a plastic spoon. Hey, keep your eyes and ears peeled for Nancy Pelosi's new podcast, Capitalists with Note Cards. Episode 1, We Don't Give a Fuck About You.